You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 13th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees to order this 13th day of April 2023, and I'm going to call the roll. Bernadette Dipke, absent. Marianne Mozarek,
present.
Steve Janis, absent. Renee Bauer, here. Davis Bush,
present.
Virginia Keating, I'm here also. I think I am anyways. Approval of minutes of the March 9th, 2023 meeting. Has everyone received a copy?
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 3/9/23.
And a second?
Second.
Who's first? Who's first? Renee?
You.
The second one.
Okay, then I'll call for the roll. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the financial report, starting with Horizon Bank.
Thank you, Virginia. I wanted to quickly introduce a new member of our team, Aaron Black. He's a new relationship manager with Horizon Trust Investment Management, and he'll be joining the team here that helps and services your account. So, Aaron, if you want to just give a brief couple words.
Sure. As Brad has indicated, my name is Aaron Black. I was an estate administration and planning attorney for 30 years. And then I spent the last 5 years or so as a trust officer with another organization. And I'm happy to have accepted the opportunity now to become a trust officer with the Horizon Bank, and look forward to servicing this organization as part of a team that manages or oversees this account.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so getting onto the financial report. Quarterly distributions were made on April 5th as follows. Greenwood paid $7,049.27. Swan Lake paid out $4,673.77. The Extension Fund paid $5,560.86, or $2,780.43 each for Swan Lake and Greenwood. Starting with the reports on page 1, if you look at the top summary with the permanent maintenance Greenwood account, the account was up 0.22% for the month and 0.67% year to date. Next account is permanent maintenance Swan Lake. That was up 0.23% for the month and 0.74% year to date. In the Extension Fund, that account was up 0.23% for the month and 0.75% year to date. In the Merchandise and Commissions Fund account, there was a payment to Matthews, $5,401.51. That account was up 0.20% for the month and 0.70% year to date. Starting on page 2 with the account details, permanent maintenance Greenwood account. Money market fund is up again. It's currently yielding 4.73, which is up from last month's yield of 4.57. The mutual fund overall yield is at 2.52. That's up from last month's yield of 2.41. Overall yield in the account, 2.99, which is up from last month's yield of 2.92. The next page, we have the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account. Mutual fund overall yield in that account is at 2.6, which is up from last month 2.49. Overall yield in that account is 3.32, which is up from last month of 3.24. Next, we have the Extension Fund. Mutual fund yield 2.61, which is up from last month's yield of 2.48. Overall yield in the account is at 3.28, up from last month of 3.19. And then the last account is the merchandise fund, mutual fund overall yield 2.59, up from last month of 2.44. And then overall yield 4.06, up from last month of 3.82. So that's a recap of the financials. As far as the markets, we talked about this, I think, the last meeting or two. There was a very rough year for the markets in 2022. Both the stock and the bond market were down double-digit percentages. So far in 2023, we've had a much better start. The S&P 500 index is up over 8% year to date, and the aggregate bond index is up over 3%. So that's definitely a positive sign so far in 2023. The big story continues to be inflation and how the Fed is responding to it. The latest consumer price index, which is called the CPI, rose about 0.1% month over month and was up 5% year over year in March. Another economic measure, the producer price index, the PPI, declined 0.5% month over month in March. So these latest readings, basically show inflation is still too high, but it is starting to slow down. The market is expecting the Fed to raise another 25 basis points at the May meeting, but it's also possible they could pause the rate hiking campaign if they see inflation indicators continue to trend downward. So indicators are that we're kind of nearing the end of that Fed hike cycle. It's either maybe one more hike, possibly two more, or they could just pause altogether. While it is possible the Fed could pause, it's unlikely they're going to cut rates anytime soon. But the market, overall is kind of betting that maybe towards the end of this year and into 2024, we could start to see interest rate cuts. That's just kind of a little bit more of a long-range projection. Overall, the U.S. economy does not appear to be in a recession at the moment, but the sources we follow put recession chances at about 50% in each of the next 2 years. So right now it's a coin flip as to whether we're going to see an actual recession. If we do see a recession, it's expected that it would be mild in comparison to prior, the most recent recessions. So that's kind of where we're at the moment. Any questions or comments?
I have none. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Moving on, then we're going to take up our internal financial reports. I'd like to review the profit and loss statement. And the profit and loss statement, if you have a look at it for March of 2023, Greenwood operating receipts $9,192.75. Operating disbursements, Greenwood $20,371.98 for a loss of $11,179.23. And that's to be expected because Greenwood is just a maintenance cemetery at this point. We don't have any graves to sell or anything like that. We have limited profits from there. Swan Lake, the operating receipts for the month, $16,168.60. The disbursements for the month, $16,945.67. And so there is a loss for Swan Lake of $777.07. The total for the month, profit and loss, the loss is $11,956.30. Are there any questions? Hearing none, then do I have a motion to approve the financials?
I'll make a motion to accept the financial record.
A second.
Okay, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the motion carries. Next item is the superintendent's reading of bills.
Sorry, you might need to give me this check.
No.
I just double checked it.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have to make you down.
Right down the street.
Brad, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's
I appreciate
wonderful.
it. I
Yeah,
appreciate
very
it.
wonderful.
Very excited.
Pleased for you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Very good.
Just had a baby.
I was promoted to the vice president.
Good. All right, bills for last month. We have AmeriGas, which is for propane at Swan Lake. We filled up the office, we filled up the garage, and the gentleman accidentally filled up the mausoleum and topped it off. So we have $1,828.72. The postage, that's what he gave me. Petty cash, $126. Grants, Swan Food, $113.75. Co-Alliance for gasoline, $889.40. Coastal Water, $17.90. General Insurance Liability, $2,346. General Insurance Property, $4,497. General Insurance Auto, $7,035. Cableins Miscellaneous Repair Parts, $37.94. Kemp's Office Supply, an image drum printer for the computer at Swan Lake, $77.97. The News Dispatch, or Herald News, whatever. Spring cleanup ad, $118.80. Matthews for markers, lettering, $8,529.93. NIPSCO, $1,327.85. Republic dumpster pickup, $129.84. And Riggs, lawnmower repair and stuff, is a hinge kit was for our one piece of machinery is $96.66. Permanent maintenance receipts, $1,580.80. Greenwood $504. Swan Lake $996.80. Extension fund receipts $4,356 even. Merchandise receipts $6,618.65 for a grand total of $12,475.45. And those are the reading of the bills, Madam President.
Thank you. Before we vote on these bills, I just have a question. You indicate that the topping off of the mausoleum had an effect on the propane costs this month.
Just a little bit, yeah.
How much is a little bit?
We were at about, it's what tops off at about 60%, 65%. We were down. They had a new driver. We were down to like 40%, so we put about 20% in.
Okay.
I mean, it'll hold until next year. We'll be fine.
Sure. Okay. Does that prompt any questions from anybody else? Okay, then do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, superintendent's report.
Okay. We have received one return proposal out of many people. I've called for the concrete in front of the office at Greenwood to put that L-shaped sidewalk coming off of Decatur and off of Tilden would be $4,850 from the only proposal that I received for the people that I called.
Who was that from?
American Concrete. We had spring, let's see, am I doing the right one? Yeah, spring cleanup was done. And this year we had a little bit higher average complaints up at Greenwood. I don't know why. It goes in cycles. We go several years of people not saying anything. And then I don't know if they get caught up. This year we've had more complaints than we've had in the past. It's all been posted on the signs in the entrance, and the rules at Greenwood have been the same rules since 1924. So it's nothing new. We haven't changed anything. The only thing we've changed are things that are new to us. Balloons, shepherd hooks, and some of that paraphernalia. But it went, for the most part, we picked it up. We had it done in about 3 days at Greenwood, had it done in a couple days at Swan Lake, so everything was clean. People are decorating, and I think for the most part they're happy. We will have new flags for the veteran area at Swan Lake, and they will be delivered sometimes before the end of the month. The staff or myself will be putting them up on May 1st. We're having trouble getting our flags for the veteran sections up at Greenwood, and we used to get them from the clubs, meaning the VFW or Post 37, mostly Post 37. With the price of flags going drastically up in price, we're having trouble getting, so I'm going to have to talk to one of our local suppliers and buy all our flags ourselves. Now we're looking probably in a neighborhood of about $1,200 to $1,400 for flags. But the veterans flags at Swan Lake, that was decided on when we did that section years ago. It was decided on at that time the clubs would do on a rotating basis to put the flags out there, and this year it's Post 37, so they're going to put them out. They're going to give them to us, and we'll put them up. But the regular flags this year we're going to have to buy them, I think.
Did you check with Post 451?
I don't know where that's at.
That's the squat post, American Legion.
I've done in the past. I've never gotten any response from those people. Usually it's either, actually the biggest response and almost the only response has been from the Post 37 with Ron Pittman. He's always been extra special care.
There's some new leadership there now at the 451. I don't know if it'd be worth giving them a call or not.
I can call them up. All they can do is say no. All right, the season, I had a couple of seasonal employees come back. This year they started Monday, March 27th. They raked the entire fence line, especially in the back along the alleyway. They also cleaned up in sections B and Q where those pine trees are. It dropped those tremendous amounts of pine cones. They raked up all and cleaned up all the pine cones so we don't have any projectiles later. And then now they started cutting and string trimming this past Monday. They've also been to get the gentleman out there on a riding mower. He's over halfway through since Monday already. The string trimmers and the guy pushing the lawnmower are about a third of the way through the first back part of the cemetery. I will be calling the water department probably in the next day or so to get our water turned on. The water will be turned on Monday, May 1, and it will be left on until Friday, September 29th. And that's at Greenwood only.
What was the date when you're shutting it off again?
September 29th. That's 5 months of water, and since we have to pay, and here's some interesting thing because it's going to put us in a bind at the cemetery. The working foreman at Swan Lake has to have heart surgery. He will be in tomorrow having surgery in Chicago. He will be in intensive care for 3 to 4 days if everything goes okay. He will be released in a week or so, and he will be off an indefinite amount of time. He doesn't know, the doctors don't know, so I don't know. Could be mid-May, could be after Memorial Day, so that kind of puts us in a little bit of a bind. I will be moving one of the gentlemen from Greenwood, who has been at Swan Lake before. We'll be going out there and taking over some of the duties, trying to get caught up. I don't want to say caught up, keeping caught up with everything that the other gentleman has done. But the foreman will be off, like I said, indefinitely, and he's having, it's not an open heart surgery, but it's coming in from the side. I guess in new heart surgeries, they come in from the side. So that's where we're going to be in kind of a bind, okay? The only other thing is I have interviewed one individual. He's interested in the job, but he's at a place now and he wants to give them at least a week's notice. And if he comes in, he may start the week of the 26th, I believe it is, or 25th. He seems like he might be okay. Of course, I'm not a very good judge of character anymore. And we also had another application I just got last night. It came to the HR department through like Indeed or one of those companies. I haven't had a chance to look at this application yet. If everything works out, I'll be talking to that person also. Right now what we need are seasonal employees. We need a couple more seasonal, and that's the thing that's hit the hardest. You notice our insurance and liability, it went up by $700 over last year's accounts. I talked to the insurance representative. We had a nice long meeting at Greenwood. After we went through the bills, we kind of gleaned out what we didn't need or what we thought we could reduce. We dropped the insurance by $500. So we have a cash savings from this year of $200. We only have to pay an extra $200 this year. So we saved $500 from our insurance. That's pretty much where we're at right at the moment, other than being busy with foundations at Greenwood, markers at Swan Lake, and now starting with where the weather is cutting the grass.
Thank you, Mark. Before we vote on anything, let me go over this quote from American Concrete. It's providing the necessary materials and labor, total cost $4,850, the scope of the work. They're to tear out 10 foot by 5 foot by 6 inch by 12 foot by 6 inch by 4 inch by 7 foot by 5 inch sections of the walk near the maintenance building. They're going to haul and dispose of and all the usual things that they would be required to do. They're not responsible for damage to underground utilities. They will have to call it in.
Yeah.
Not responsible for backfilling and seeding. Not responsible for damage. And I have to ask, are they insured? Did you ask them, are they insured? They say they are. Did they provide their insurance to
I did not get provided with insurance, but the gentleman I talked to said they are covered by insurance. So.
You need to get a copy of that, please.
Okay.
The certificate of liability.
That's right, yes, absolutely. Is there anybody who wants to take a look at
I have a
this?
question about that. Are they providing fibered 4,500 pound concrete, which is the
doesn't say
standard
they're-
nowadays?
they're
Doesn't
not
list the
saying
quality of the concrete. Right now, the standard is 4,500 pound, and it usually is fibered instead of rebarred.
Okay.
To withstand, it's actually stronger than rebarred concrete.
Mark, you need to check that, please. Okay.
Since heavy-duty vehicles have to go over it.
No.
Well,
No.
This is
This is the entrance walkway.
okay, that's good.
This is the entrance to the building that started with our past president saying it looks bad, it's got some cracks. That's why we're working on it.
I love it.
And we can't do anything on Decatur Street or on Tilden because that's by the city.
Is there concrete that needs to be replaced in those areas that the city manages?
It's spotty. It's spotty.
Is it bad enough that we want to ask to have that done? Because you would have to go before the Board of Works.
Okay. Can we have some money for cement?
Well, we have a grant,
I'd have to look at it just to make sure.
community development block grant. You weren't on the list for this year, but if you want to get on the list for next year, we need to know that. You can get on the list and then it's, it's a matching grant.
It was done when we had on Tilden several years ago, and I'm talking years ago, they put a giant sewer right up the middle of Tilden Ave. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I think I
there.
remember, yeah.
And they replaced the sidewalks in front at that time, but as over time, in the last 25 years or so, it's settled, and some of it is probably cracked or whatever, but I'll have to take a good look at it.
Good, okay, all right. Well, as far as this concrete proposal, is the board satisfied enough that you want to just sign off on this? Mark, of course, can enter into contracts under a certain amount of dollars. I think it's $5,000 without our approval anyways. But does the board have any comments or wishes in that regard?
They were the only one that responded to your estimate request, okay?
You gotta understand, over the years, we've had other people come and they just got to the point where they're not coming back because we don't use them,
Yeah.
or for whatever reason, or the city. Sometimes they don't want to deal when they find out you're part of the city. They don't want to deal with you because you're part of the city. I got this number for these people off of the pad when my wife and I were out at dinner over at around the clock. That's how come I got these people.
I've used them before where our condos are. They lifted a lot of the porches and steps, and they did a good job.
Good, good, well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, well, this is our option. We can just go ahead and vote on this contingent on receipt of the certificate of insurance, which Mark will be required to get for us. So do I have a motion?
Motion to,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead with that.
It only gets more expensive if we wait, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we're looking out, the way that Jim told me, you're looking out anywhere from 3 months.
Okay.
And then you're gonna check into the grant for the finishing the rest of the.
That, no, we can't do that till next year.
Oh, okay.
So what he has to do is he has to bring it to planning's attention and get on the list, okay? We don't have a city engineer right now.
No.
We have a problem with that, so he doesn't have to do it immediately, but certainly the grant cycle will start again in 6 months, so he could get on it then. Okay. All right, we got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The only thing we have on under old business is tree removal at Swan Lake. What are we doing with that?
We're still working on it. But like I said, I've called some that we've used in the past that they just don't want to come in anymore because they've been in so many times. I got a couple of new companies they're supposed to be stopping. Well, that's all I can do is keep working at it.
How many trees are we talking?
4, 5, not even that.
Okay, so it's not
And they were,
that,
it's not pressing. They're not as bad as what some people in the past have said they were. They're not that bad. They're going to get bad eventually, but the ones right now, excuse me.
would you think that it would be more attractive to these companies if there were a bigger scope to the job?
Well, the companies I'm dealing with now are smaller,
Okay.
so they might be more willing.
What I'm getting at is,
Right, I
okay,
understand.
you only got 4 or 5 out at Swan Lake. Do you have anything at Greenwood? Can we combine jobs? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know. The trees up at Greenwood aren't that bad. There's spots of the trees.
Well, yeah, we could have them trim as well as remove.
Let's look into that.
Okay. I'm not telling you your job, Mark, but just a suggestion because it might solve your problem. Maybe they think the job that you presented is too small for them and they'd like to have a little bit bigger.
During Sheila's administration, we spent close to $135,000 one winter and cleaned and trimmed. Now, we didn't take a tree down, but we took that out and cleaned everything out.
We should do that.
But that was when Sheila gave us the money for that. He's a tree guy. What's his name? Got his business on Black Road right there, right around the corner. I can't think what his name is right now. It's been a long time ago.
I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of favor maintenance so that it doesn't become an emergency. We have to remove a tree because we didn't trim it. So Okay. Okay, new business. Is there any new business? Does anyone have anything? Okay, then board comments. Does the board have any comments to make? Davis?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm kind of dragging my
Mark
feet.
does.
I only have one comment about talking about trees. Let's go back a few minutes here. Trees real quick. A few years ago, when we had a big storm where Chuck was mayor, it was, what they call it, it came off the lake, 100-mile-an-hour winds. We had a ton of trees come down at Greenwood. Now, one of the trees that came down was bad. That's my only comment about, your maintenance on the trees and everything. Is, unfortunately, the trees that came down were all really pretty vibrant.
The roots were just shallow. Is that why they blew over?
Well, 109-mile-an-hour wind,
Yeah.
I guess.
The roots
We
must have been
did
kind of
remove about
shallow.
100 trees from Greenwood.
Yeah, that time with that storm, we took out over 100, then we had 110 removed a few years ago.
Yep, and that was because of the defoliant that you used.
Oh, no, I mean,
That was used in the past.
yeah, and they used that paraquat years ago.
Yeah, and that caused the problem.
And he had Davey Tree come in and he audited the trees, and they also core sampled a lot of trees, and the guy told me he could see where the paraquat was applied.
And that brings up a question, and I should have thought of this earlier. We're getting late into this meeting, but the arborist was supposed to provide us with replacements. That never happened, did it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we've got an arborist coming on board. Okay, so we need to get in line before everybody else gets in line. So maybe you can make arrangements next week or the week after, call the tree board and tell them that you need the arborist to come out. Get in line before, because we've been without an arborist for a couple of years, so there's gonna be a lot of things that they're gonna want that person to do.
Yeah.
The trees that are along Greenwood, Barker, and Tilden right now were trees that were donated when Chuck was mayor, Chuck Oberlin, by that gentleman down on 2. I think it was a Woodruff tree guy down on 2. And they had a whole lot of trees and he just wanted to get rid of them, so that's what all those trees were along. And they were huge. But we didn't put them in, but the arborist at that time, I don't remember his name.
What do you, the board, think of that suggestion? I don't want to be usurping the board's powers here, so you need to, say what you
The
think.
suggestion is good. Literally get in line, get a hold of the guy.
Yes, I agree.
Right now, he should have a clean docket, and we want to fill it up.
Okay.
The
Anything like that you can think of, anything else?
only thing about, and this is just on a maintenance standpoint, the more trees you add, the more maintenance we have to do with in the fall. I mean, a lot more maintenance, depending on how many trees are going to be allotted to us.
Okay, well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay,
good, 'cause I can-
we gotta reforest, all right? Maybe not to the extent of 100 trees that we're taking out. Not nearly that many that we probably would be replacing. In fact, the city probably wouldn't give us 100 trees, but, don't you
But
think
the
you ought
arborist
to
could
look
tell
at?
us which ones really need to go.
That's right, yeah,
And if, with his word, we can say that it's bona fide.
that's right. And like we just pointed out, Mark, this person's going to be really busy, so if we don't get lined up real quick, Anything else anybody can think of? Okay, well, a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a motion?
A motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.